Got a little bit of a heavy subject today, but obviously very necessary to talk about. Getting ready to make some content about it now that I feel like, hi Quariba, now that I feel like I have picked up on the common pattern that's happening here. Oh, Azaria, thank you so much. I usually don't have people come up, but I'd love to have you up since, it says that you are usually in these.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am. Oh, you sound great. Okay.
Okay. So what part of like the exploitation of Black women would you really want to talk about on Love Island specifically?
On Love Island, yeah. So I actually have notes on this because I was like getting my mind together about it. But it's especially to me egregious because I think Love Island casts Black women because they have been shown to be very popular across the board. Obviously, most of the people that watch the shows are women. And I think that they see, in the favorites and the ratings that Black women do really well. And they cast them, but without ever considering. I was going to go into like a whole thing about how we've never, because like America doesn't teach racism, doesn't teach its racist history to anybody. Like I had to learn all of that stuff on my own by like reading a lot, learning a lot, and I still don't know everything. And the way that that intersects with Black women on Love Island is that they get cast on these shows because they're so well liked and so popular, especially with other women, but the production doesn't really take any steps to protect them or like to make sure that the other people on the island are not going to contribute to like racism and the exploitation of Black women, because I think a lot of people do. I mean, like look at Huda this season, like literally, the way that she acted around Shelley and Olandria. Look at, the way that people both liked Clark, but at the same time, like, didn't really feel comfortable, like, standing up for her or, like, didn't feel bad that she, had to leave because of, like, Taylor. But I feel like he was using both Olandria and Clark as just a resource. Anyways, at this point, I'm just yapping, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that, too.
I definitely do think that's true. I don't know if like people have been watching how the producers like cut certain parts of conversations with people, but I specifically remember after that challenge with everyone in the circle, not the one where they were like trying to seduce everyone. They're talking, a lot of the women were talking about how Shelly is not a girl's girl because she was holding Huda accountable, but then she wasn't holding Ace to that sort of same accountability. But then in the next episode, we can see like literal cuts of Ace and Shelly having conversations on the off end, but we were not shown those type of conversations that they were having, or if they were even discussed what happened at that challenge, for people to now make these assumptions that okay, Shelly has this narrative of holding other women accountable, but then she doesn't hold like the man that she's with accountable, even though we can see clearly through that episode that she was having certain conversations with Ace that we were not seeing. And I think you can really tell in the beginning of the show how certain people were framed. I don't know if anyone has seen like how early discussions of Love Island this season was, especially like kind of like during the preseason. But a lot of people, when Huda was first shown, were like, oh yeah, don't be jealous if like Huda like gets all of these Black guys on her, if like she's like basically like setting Huda up to be the next lead of this season. And then trying to make it seem as though like these two Black girls that are on this season need to be her sidekicks or her side components, even though like they are on their own individual journey, and trying to center someone in a season about multiple people trying to find multiple love connections does not make any sense in this scenario. So I just think that like that setting that the tone of the people watching the show in the beginning set the tone for how the producers wanted to cut certain topics and certain things within the show, because while we were watching 4 or 5 episodes of Huda and Jeremiah's relationship crumble right before our eyes, we're not being able to see like the certain relationship that Olandria was able to have with Taylor. We weren't able to see the certain depths and conversations that Shelley was able to have with Ace until like the last two episodes before they got eliminated. And then we're like, oh wow, like they did come up for them these like impoverished backgrounds and have like this deep faith that they have in each other. Like they were trying to scramble and make a certain narrative with Huda as the main character, and because Huda did not really comply to like their certain beliefs about how they wanted her to act like someone like Leah from last season, it literally failed the narrative of all the other contestants, especially the Black Islanders on this season. And I don't even know if people like really understand like the people that they're going at, because even, sorry if I'm going off on a
No,
tangent,
please,
but
this
like,
is all really
but
great stuff.
even with the people that a lot of Huda supporters don't dislike, Chris, Jeremiah, Olandria, and Shelley, it's like very intentional that the people that are getting up at them are not giving the same energy to like Chris, not Chris, Nick, or like all the other male contestants that also were
Austin,
spreading
yeah.
certain narratives about um like Huda. Like Nick told Huda
Mhm.
to her face that he wanted to vote her out, but then people are getting at like Olandria and Shelly and calling her a mean girl, even though every single crash out that Huda had in the villa, she would always go to Taylor and Olandria and be like, you know, and tell them her concerns. And Huda was like a lot of the main instigators within the island. Now, this is not me saying that like Huda is like the main component in the season. Like I don't want people just getting at Huda and then like blaming the girls, even though I think that the guys had a lot of accountable actions that could be said. Like when the guys were always constantly like pressuring Jeremiah about like his relationship with Huda, either Jeremiah should have just stood up for her and like
Mhm.
defended his relationship with her, or just been clear with her from the beginning, because then it's creating this
Mhm.
certain narrative about other islanders that people want to instill on them. So I just think that like this season as a whole, like, and how they exploit a lot of like the Black girls on this season, not even just this season, but like even last season. I don't know if people were like really watching it, tuning into Love Island. um Love Island had a really big shift like season 3 and upwards, because it was on a different channel before. I think it was like CBS or NBC before they switched over. So like the season that we're now watching on Peacock, you can only see like I think the fourth, the four seasons 4 through 7, but then the other seasons are completely different. You can see it like in how the producers change certain people and like how they're casting a more diverse group of people, how that plays such a huge impact on the audience and also the contestants as well. um we've had like with Janae last season, I remember people were talking about how they need to vote off Janae, how Janae, you know, is too overly emotional, how like Serena you know, is playing with Cordell. Like people don't understand, people hated Serena. Like the
Yes.
first week and a half, people hated Serena. They thought Serena was playing with Cordell's feelings, how Cordell deserved better, how you know
Oh,
she needs to treat him a lot better. But it's like, no, she's not
every
obligated
time.
to like put all her eggs in one basket. Like it's experience for everyone to explore. If Cordell does not want to explore, that's on Cordell, is not on her. She shouldn't be like
Yes.
the arbitrator of his feelings. And that whole like narrative about Serena and Janae being like that whole narrative around them really did help Leah in some cases, because like whenever Leah would say like make snide comments about Janae, the people would go and defend it, be like, oh no, Leah's just real, you know,
Or
Leah's
that
just
thing
being
she
real
did
with
with
people.
Connor,
Exactly, like
rubbing it
people.
in her face, like
Exactly,
that was
exactly,
crazy.
exactly. And I don't think that's completely fair. Like now, obviously, I can't speak to their friendship. They probably already discussed it and had a conversation. I don't want to bring up something and then like throw it in someone's face. It doesn't really make sense to do that. But like
Mm.
the like producers play an impact on how like us as viewers view certain things, but then also us as viewers have to have that understanding that we also play an impact on how producers cut certain things, because from the beginning, like especially in this
So
season, people
true.
made it about Huda. So then the
Mm-hmm.
producers made it about Huda because they realized, okay, the people on that are watching only care about Huda. They don't really
Mm-hmm.
care for other stories from the other islanders. So then we just don't really get to see a lot of context being shown, or like the standards that they would hold the girls to versus the standards that they would hold the guys to. Like people are calling this season like very male centered season, not very girls season. Well, you know, you're trying to call ice on someone that has
Yeah.
a racist past, but then you want to be like, oh no, we're not mean girls. Like who's really the mean girl here if we're trying to hold people accountable? Is this holding people accountable, or just trying to further a certain narrative about certain people that you just don't personally like, you know. um but this, like, just this season of like trying to like frame certain narratives about the black women on the show, especially with Clark, like how they were talking about her being a man, you know, like masculizing her, but then now everyone wants a makeup routine from her. I'm just like, okay, like y'all were just talking shit about her, now y'all want her makeup routine. Like, you can't,
Instead
like,
of hating on Taylor, rightfully, you know,
exactly, they get
people
on
were
Clark.
like calling her like that is crazy.
Exactly. And then you could have called out Taylor without having to call out Clark and make her like this
Apparently
mean
not.
character and this
Yeah.
villain that y'all wanted her to be. Like,
Hmm.
no one needed to do like the extra and the most about that. And they even did that with Janae like last season when they were talking about her makeup, or when they were talking about her
Hmm.
nose job, or they just wanted to throw out like, oh yeah, like, you know, Janae is fake, or Janae is all this, like Janae only wears wigs. Like, it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you're saying she only wears wigs, but if she came out on the show with her natural hair, like in season 4, I forgot the girl who had like, who literally shaved her head before she came onto Love Island. But if Janae had like her natural hair out, then there would have been the certain narrative of, oh yeah, Janae doesn't know how to do her hair. Oh,
Oh
Janae,
my
you know,
God.
she
Yeah.
doesn't like her hair isn't done. So it's like,
It's
what?
almost yeah, it's almost
Yeah,
kind of like a similar concept to like transvestigation. It's like, no, this black woman isn't as beautiful as y'all think she is.
exactly.
Meanwhile,
They want her to perform femininity, but then like
when
when
they
she's not,
do, yeah.
suddenly it's fake. But then if she's natural, suddenly it's okay, well, you know, you're not doing enough.
Meanwhile, a white woman with, lip fillers and a wig and God knows what other kind of work done is getting a shout out for having good genes
Good genes,
is
exactly.
crazy. Is
Exactly.
crazy. And like
Oh,
we all know she's had work done. We all know she's wearing a wig. Like this is crazy to talk about that and genes in the same sentence. But
and
then whenever black women do those things, then it's like, oh, but you're not really beautiful.
it's a completely unfair standard. Like, someone can dye their hair and then just be called a natural blonde, or people just say, yeah, she's blonde, but in actuality, your hair is actually brown. But then if a woman,
Extensions.
extensions, if a woman's
Hmm.
coming out, oh, she has braids, oh yeah, she has a weave in her hair. Oh, you know, like that's not her real hair, that's her fake hair. Where does your
Hmm.
actual hair really start? Like, these sort of conversations are like, people don't realize that like inherent bias plays a huge role in how they like interact with people. And the fact that, you know, it's so common with Love Island especially, that they hold the black contestants like a higher moral standard, but then the white contestants or non-black contestants can be messy, they can make
Hmm.
mistakes, they can apologize even though they only apologize when they get off the island, and like have these excuses made up for them. But the black contestants have to be held to a higher standard and higher moral standard, even though it's a reality TV show.
They're exposed to violence too. Like it goes way too far. It's not even just holding somebody accountable. It's being like, no, she should eat a knuckle sandwich. Like
Exactly. Like,
she deserves her account hacked. Like
you,
all this kind of stuff is really, really scary. Like that
it's
is
scary.
terrifying.
And like, and then they're like, you know, they're so fake, you know, they just came out the island, how come they didn't know this stuff? I'm like, you have people hurling racist abuse towards you, you have media companies, you know, saying they want to
Media
give you a knuckle
companies.
sandwich. Like, and then
Yes.
you're worried about, oh yeah, she stole someone's man on a show that's about dating and
Right.
exploring options. It's like the
Right.
people, it's like the people that are watching this show are trying to hold these people on a reality TV show to the same moral standard in the real world. Like, it's like, no, they're on an island. They're
Yeah.
disconnected from their phones, from
They don't even know what
family.
time it is.
They don't know the time. The people were
They have two
people
hours of sleep per
2 to 5
night.
hours of sleep. They don't even get like a regular 6-7 hours that's recommended for people to sleep. And then they're like, oh yeah, like they're getting the people off of their highest emotions to get the best of reality television from them, and it does not make any sense.
And I really hated too, like back to the whole like black women being used as a resource and like being exploited. Like I hated that people kept posting that shot of like Huda with Olandria and Shelly like on either side of her and she's got like her hands out and
Exactly.
they're like, look, they're like best friends. I'm like, first of all, they're not
No.
really touching her back. Like they're I don't know, like I don't really like it's giving like something that narcissists will do. And I'm not saying that like about
Yeah.
Huda, but like it's just giving that like false intimacy. It's giving like, these are my like, it almost reminds me of like, it's just a very sidekick coded thing to do. Like, these are my sidekicks. Like,
Yeah,
this,
like they can never be the main characters. They have to be the supporting
I'm in the
characters
middle.
of the
Yes,
main
and
character
people
in the
are
villa.
posting that as proof of them like being friends, but then as soon as Huda came out the villa, she threw them under the bus. Like, she literally was like, "No, we're not that good of friends."
Oh, I felt bullied. And then like the main narrative that's being sent about people bullying her in the villa are the two black girls on there. Like you can't just say, okay, I felt bullied on the villa, and then the main people that are being accused of being your bullies are the two girls that supported you while you were going through an emotional state with another man in that villa, you
And you
know?
say nothing. Not only that, but they let so many things slide. They were so gracious to her, so beyond gracious. Like,
And
even the whole thing with Shelly and Ace, like, I can see it's like the way that Black women always have to, you know, maybe not always, and I hope it's not always, but I see this a lot where it's like they have to act above reproach or whatever it is. Like, basically, the standard is perfection. So everything that you have to handle with other people. This is why people were like mad at Serena last season, because she was just kind of like letting it out. And people didn't like that. And
and then now
so,
they love her, but it's like
mhm.
it's like it takes people hating someone in order for people to realize their potential, or realize, wow, they're actually just being genuine with their emotion. And it's like it
Yeah,
shouldn't have
exactly.
to
It
be that
triggers a
way.
lot of people too. I think it triggers people to see a Black woman expressing emotions because we're so brainwashed by the strong Black woman stereotype, where it's like, no, it's just supposed to roll off her back. Like, it kind of broke my heart when Shelley said that she cried the most out of anybody in the villa.
And it
But
wasn't
we
even shown.
we never saw that. She came off as like so cool, calm, and collected. And it's like, that's not even like, they literally altered her personality.
Exactly. And then the people were like, oh no, like if that was true, they would have shown it. It's like, no, reality television cuts out so much. And then they're trying to make it seem like she's a liar. I'm like, this show's filmed in 24 hours. If these contestants have the enough gall to lie about what they've done in the villa, knowing that they're being recorded 24 hours of the day, like it's so stupid. And then to lie about something about crying, like you could lie about anything. You could lie about certain conversation that you had with someone so you don't get enough hate, but like lying about crying in the villa, like that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just think it like stems from the fact that people don't know the history. We've never confronted the history, and we've never eradicated, like, we've never stopped as a society using Black women as resources the most. I mean, Black people in general, but like with Black women, like the intersection of like everything, plus misogyny, misogynoir, plus just like the general exploitation of all of us, right? But it's just so much worse for Black women. And I feel like we're seeing that mask off this season and this year because we're falling into fascism, like, if we're going to be honest. And it's benefiting the ruling class that we never were told the history, like the real. Like, people are not ashamed enough. Like, people are not, like, in
Don't want to
Germany,
be
like,
self-aware. It,
yeah.
it,
And
it,
I'm
it
not even saying like that shame is the best way to deal with it, but sometimes it is, like, because in Germany, everywhere you go, there's like, Holocaust memorial like plaques and like that tell the history of like what happened, and like so that people never forget. And we have nothing, like that, other than I think like in the South, there's museums and stuff, but then like
the museums
people,
are like decorations for like people to go and have host their weddings on a slave plantation. Like if you told someone like
seriously.
I'm having a wedding at an Auschwitz, camp, people would look
Right.
at you crazy like why are you like, but then like
Everybody knows like
everyone knows.
every, all the details of what happened there, but people don't know what happened during like that whole 400 years, you know what I mean, of like intentional and like really barbaric exploitation. And now that it's kind of like Well, now it's less, but it's like it still is very impactful and it still impacts Black women first and foremost and with violence. And that is what's scary. Like people are just it's
So
like
comfortable.
beyond it's beyond like unempathetic though too, because it's kind of like you see it and you're like, yeah, but that's not that bad because you don't know the history, because you don't know all of the everything that's piled up on top of like how Black women are raised and socialized, like even by their own parents and stuff, like the things that you have to be told and like how you
Exactly.
have
Or
to
it
move
not
in
everything
place.
is that deep. Like when people
Yes, but it is, but it
it
is that deep.
exactly.
Oh my God,
Not
yeah.
everything is not that deep, but then it's that deep when someone is a mean girl, or when someone is not being real, or someone is scamming or not showing their real emotion, you know? Like an Iris can be a quiet girl that, you know, it's chill and like doesn't do too much, but then when it's Olandria, it's oh no, she's not showing her real emotion. Or like the only real emotion that Olandria showed was when at the call out thing, when she yelled at Taylor, when it's like not every single Black girl is gonna like want to yell at someone, or like is gonna be constantly angry, and it's like for
But
people to
also,
like
why wasn't she allowed to be angry? Well, because they, according to the audience, but it's like because they cut out all the parts that would have justified her anger. Like that
exactly,
fucking drives me crazy because
exactly.
she
Or they're
literally
saying
said,
it's too late, it's too late. It's like no, this man wasn't even being honest with her from the beginning for her to
yes,
actually
and
know what was going on, and it's
well, she
unfair to be
said,
like you should have known.
yeah, well, she said that like not only that, but they just didn't show all the parts where like he would be very
Care for
thoughtful.
her. Like
Yes.
he used to put her heels on for her and tie them up for her, like making sure that she got exactly what she wanted for breakfast, making sure that all the girls were taken care of. And she saw the way that he was able to care for the other girls, even though he's not in a relationship with like a couple with them, and be like, wow, I
Mhm.
still want to be with this guy. And trying to frame it as she's like this desperate girl that's just wanting to look for a cowboy, when in
Yes.
reality, she just fell in love. Like she was dating. Like it's punishing women for the decisions that men do to them, and then trying to be like you're holding them accountable when that's not actually holding someone accountable. If someone can lie to you, if someone can, you know, especially with like what we're seeing with Kenny and Janae, like someone can lie, can cry to your face, like dismiss another girl that they wanted to be with and want to be with you, like do all of these things that we're told as women, like oh, you know, a man needs to show
Mhm.
all of these things in order to show that he wants to be with you. At the end of the day, a man can still lie. At the end of the day, that someone can still betray you and like withhold
Because
like
they're trying to exploit you. Like that's
exactly,
they think it's
exactly,
okay. Like they literally think it's okay. And I think a lot of guys too, they're like, yeah, well, it's like that again, the strong Black woman thing, like she'll be fine, you know, even if she finds out, she'll be fine. I also want to say, someone left a comment in here saying even with the cut, that Olandria's anger was justified, and I agree with that because people went out
exactly.
of their way when Huda would crash out. They'd be like, but maybe it was this, but maybe it was that. Like even when we weren't shown like certain details, when the crash out seemed unjustified, people would go out of their way to be like,
To
no, no,
justify
no.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was still gaining followers after that. But like when she does it, it's like, oh no, I'm gonna unfollow you. You need to be kicked off the island. You need to go. You need to go. It's like when it was defending Huda, it became fun. When it was defending Alandria and Shelly, it's like, oh no, you guys are just making this about race. You guys are doing too much. It's just a reality TV show. It's just all of these things to dismiss what people are doing. But it's like, we didn't make it about race. You made it about race when you started unfairly holding these Black women to a standard that you don't even hold other contestants to. And then when we bring it up, it's like, oh, you're just jealous of them. Oh, you just want to be like them. Oh, you know, when Shelly and Olandra get a sew-in or whatever, it's like, oh, they want to be Huda, even though Huda's natural hair is curly. It's not even straight. It's like all of these like they're quick to like come down to reality and touch grass when it comes to these women, but then when it comes to other people, they're allowed to be delusional, they're allowed to make mistakes, they're allowed to be
Mm-hmm.
entertaining and be on TV. And then like they wonder why certain Black women that come on the show have to be reserved, or like don't feel as comfortable to like express how they really feel, because they don't want to be like, they don't want, it's like it's so stupid to be like, yeah, these people don't want to show their real emotion, but then when they do, you want to give them racial harassment. It's so, it doesn't make sense to like want tell people that, oh yeah, you're so dumb for wanting to avoid racial harassment. It's so dumb.
Right. I know. It's kind of like how men will tell women, like, oh, well, just stand up to him, stand up to your male bully at work and just tell him to fuck off, or like, yeah, just march into your boss's office. Or, like when women say, like, oh, I can't wear whatever I want, men are like, no, just wear whatever you want. And it's
But then you
like,
get harassed for wearing it.
yes,
Or like
exactly. So people are so
you're
quick to
held
be
to a
like, no, just
standard that
do
you didn't
it.
even hold yourself to.
Yes. It is incredibly unfair, and I just still think it like leads back to um we just are so comfortable piling so much onto Black women as a society. And like even just right now with everything the way that it is in society, with people's really like true intentions being able to come forward, because I do think that people are a little bit like they see something and then they just want to copy it. Like we're very imitative creatures, right?
Exactly.
And I think that our president right now is putting a lot of that kind of energy out there. I mean,
It's like
he's literally like, I'm going to go after, let's see, Kamala Harris, Oprah, and Beyonce.
it doesn't
Hmm.
make any sense. The thing even with like our presidency and the standards is that like Trump can say that Kamala is not going to do anything, Kamala is going to start wars, whatever, and people will see what Trump is doing right now and still defend him for being on Epstein's files and be like, oh, what about Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris wasn't even in the vicinity of Epstein when Epstein was at the height of his trafficking scheme, but people want to go and make excuses for Trump. And
Mm-hmm.
even with on the island, you know how like people were talking about Sierra. I don't agree with what Sierra did at all, and like what she did was reprehensible. But the fact that people can go into Austin's comment section and be like, "Vote for Kamala in 2028," he's like, "Yeah, I'll vote for her," and make it like a joke, like that he voted for Trump and voted for the administration that we're in. But then you guys want to hold Sierra to that standard when Nick can like tag Chinese on like that TikTok from when he was in high school, and people
Mm-hmm.
will be like, "Oh, he was in high school, he was doing this, he can learn from this." But then like we can't do that with Sierra. It's like it's very
He's a
like
registered Republican too, and nobody's
it,
concerned about him dating a Black woman. Like,
exactly. And like these are valid concerns. Like
mhm.
you don't know his friends. Like Florida is a place, especially in Florida. Florida is known for like being very racially diverse, but still people have
Extremely,
very
yeah.
conservative views. So someone can have
Kind of
black
like
friends and
Houston
still be
too.
racist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that like having black friends doesn't excuse you from racism or excuse you from ignorance. And the fact that people are now trying to be like, oh no, he didn't do this, or trying to like infantilize these men. But then you guys want to hold this Latina woman to like the highest moral standard. If we're gonna hold her
Call
to that
eyes on her
standard,
freaking family, like
exactly,
threaten their
hold
safety.
everybody,
Like,
hold everybody.
yeah.
And it's like when you try to bring it up, it's like, oh no, you're trying to dismiss what someone did. Oh, you're trying to make excuses for her. I'm like, I'm not
Hmm.
making no excuses for anyone's actions, but I would like people, if we're gonna talk about like, holding people to the same standards, we should be doing that to everybody, and that it doesn't even just bleed into reality TV, it bleeds into our justice system, it bleeds into the way that we talk about politics. If people can be like, oh, if you can sentence someone to like 5 years in prison for raping someone, and then someone else can get a year probation for doing the exact same thing, and then you don't want to talk about the racial aspect, or you don't want to talk about the political aspect of these crimes, then
Hmm.
it's so deeply like inherent, like I don't know, it's so hard to try to describe it.
Of course, because everybody's gaslighting Black women about it. So it's kind of like it's crazy making, it's gaslighting behavior. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to talk about it because it's like so deeply rooted in every single thing that we deal with as a society. And it's like Love Island is really just a reflection, like most of these reality TV shows are just a reflection of like how we feel as a society and like how we react and respond to them. Like that's why I watch these things, and I kind of, I like to wait a little bit to see if I spot any patterns. And this is the one that I've been like really thinking about recently, because Kenny just so obviously exploited Janae. Like there's no, and it's crazy because like the way she talked about it broke my heart too, because she was like,
She learned Spanish to like be with him. She was talking about marriage. Like she was seriously invested in that relationship. And then to see it and for it to be so publicly like blown out, for
Yeah.
everyone to know the details, for everyone to know that, it's like every time that she's gonna date, the first thing that people are gonna bring up is, oh, is he racist? Oh, let's go to check his Twitter. Oh, let's go make sure that like like I understand like wanting the best for her, but then like going online and be like, oh, I feel so bad for her. You know, she should have chose this person. She should have stayed with a black man. Well, it's like, no,
Oh,
it could
there
have
were
been anybody.
signs. Like that's my least favorite thing. There were signs. Like shut the
There were
fuck up.
no, he showed
Like
every single sign that like any guy on Love Island has done. Like so many guys have cried, like gone back to the girls that they've been with, like done whatever. And like the thing is, like had Kenny chose to be with a Kayla or another white girl, we would have never known this. We would have never known the type of behavior that he
right.
has.
Right. And just the way that she was like, yeah, I've seen all the theories that y'all are guessing, and trust me, like nothing is as bad as what he actually did. Like, whoa, because that is it's like to for something to be, we often think of like cheating as like the worst thing that can
Yeah,
happen, but it's like that really recalibrates it, right? It's just like finding out that somebody just like wasn't into you from the start. Like that's just destructive. That is just inhumane to do that. Like that is crazy. Like you don't view someone as a person if you're doing that. You view them as a resource. And he like
exactly.
very clearly did, and like it's just a shame that it's like it she had to find out that way by him just like clearly saying it to somebody else, and like her having to read, like I cannot
Go through his
imagine.
text messages with his friends and type out the N word or like type out all of these things to try to make sure that like he wasn't actually saying what he did. And to find out that way, I think as it's extremely heartbreaking. I think like when people talk about like interracial like relationships and dating, like they don't really understand that someone can like you and want to be with you and still hold racist viewpoints about you and the people that look like you. Like people don't even like the reason why we even like black Americans even have like 25 to like 30% of like European DNA is because of slavery. Like these slave owners looked at these women as sexual objects, as sexual beings, could have very well liked these women. Like some of these slave owners passed down plantations to the black women that they impregnated and their children that they still held as slaves, but then did not view them as human beings. And that's what people need to like realize when it comes to like these relationships. It's not about how well they treat you, it's about how well they treat the people around you, how they treat the people that look like you. It's not just about you yourself. And that's how I kind of like view it with like other women when they talk about, oh yeah, my man only likes me and hates other women. It's like, no. When if you guys break up
My
or you guys
least
get a
favorite
divorce
thing, yeah.
or something like that, he's gonna hate you and then he's gonna love the next woman that he gets into a relationship with. Like it's
Hmm.
not about you yourself, it's about the community of people around you. And if the man can't even care about like a community of people that look like you, that are similar to you, they're not even similar to you, like people that don't even look like him, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
just anybody.
it's gonna hurt you in the long run.
Yep. And it's for any white women that have trouble understanding the parallel, it's kind of like how men will be into fat women or into like goth girls or like just
Yeah,
anything that's kind of
archetypes
like,
of women, but not
yes.
actually truly like them. You don't want to be
Yeah.
publicly seen with them. You don't want to, tell people that you're in love with this girl because you're so afraid of what people are going to say to you. You can't stand up for yourself. Like people love talking about, stand up for what you believe in, never let other people's opinions affect yours. But then when you can't even stand up to your own homeboys and tell them that you like this girl without them calling her ugly. And then not suddenly you don't like the girl, but you're taking her out on dates. You're doing
Hmm.
all these things that showed the genuine interest in her, but you can't defend the girl that you like. You can't
And
even
I
do
think,
that simple thing. But then you
yeah.
want to talk about you can't even like defend
Oh,
your
you're
own
an
political
alpha, you're
opinion.
a fucking leader. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
And it's so heartbreaking because it's like there's also that piece of like, but Kenny's not white. And so it exposes like a whole another underbelly of like intersectionality where people think that they're better, right? Because they have like a lighter skin
Skin
color, and they
complexion.
think that other people are beneath them. Beneath. literally like I'm just doing this for the bag. Like that is crazy. That's you're describing this woman as like a job that you hate.
But then you're going on vacation with her, you're
Right. Like
romancing
she's
her.
literally a resource to you though. Like
Exactly.
you're doing everything. That's so sick. Like that
Taking
is
her to your
so sick.
brother's wedding. And then, like, how would you even explain those text messages if, like, they got married or they had kids? How would you explain that to your own children? You know?
Yes. And like seriously, any women that are listening, go through their phone. Go through their phone
Anyone that
and
says
go
it's
through their
insecure to go
work
through a man's
bag.
phone is not being serious.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that man, if he even has like Discord or Reddit, that should be a
Yeah.
red flag. That should be an
Yes.
immediate red flag.
Yes. Yes. Check his work bag, see if he has a different phone. Check his car for a different phone. Like, use like I don't know if there's something you can use to like see if there's other phones nearby. Make sure you do. Like, seriously, these men are diabolical. Like, this is crazy. And it's like black women, it just sucks that they have to worry about that on top of like the everyday racism, on top of the everyday like not being protected, not being nobody's looking out, nobody stands up for black women. They have to worry about the person that sleeps in their bed. Like, and I just thought it was
Exactly.
so sick too, the way that he was like, yeah, I wanted space from you. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know, just like even to the point, like looking back on it now with like 2020 vision, it just paints that comment in like a different light. It's like, was your family or like was that group chat like making fun of like y'all living together? Like what is it about the proximity that you didn't want with the woman that you supposedly love, you were talking about having children with? Like I feel like that
You
just
were
kind of
teaching her like
exposed.
take to Spanish lessons, like you wanted to engrave her in your culture and all of that.
Right. But like was he doing the same with her? Like I don't,
No.
it's very, very sick. And it just comes from like this kind of stuff is easy to do, honestly, when you are uneducated and when you don't know this stuff. Like when I first read certain books, like Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad, and she was talking about anti-blackness against women, like it we, especially as women, as like white women, we like bristle against that because we're like, no, but they're women too, and I see it, whatever. But it's like, no, you only see the parts that affect you too. Like we as white women tend to only see the parts of like black women's like struggle, as long as it's the same things that affect us, like a gender pay gap, or
Or something like,
misogyny or something like that.
like you could see that with like even like singers like Taylor Swift. Like it's convenient when for you to talk about misogyny, but then like when you tweet something out about a black woman, you see that she's being harassed racially, suddenly that you can't defend her. You can't call out your fans and say, you can't, like, don't do this,
Yeah, you're like,
like,
oh, a man probably stole your spot.
exactly.
What the, like, why not just tag the VMAs in the tweet and be like, hey, can you explain yourself? Like, maybe if a white woman says something, maybe you guys will speak. Like, how can you explain this? Like, what do we do? How are we going to fix this? And nothing,
you know
just like get defensive, right? When they're confronted with, hey, you just, right there, you just aligned yourself with whiteness. It's like, you immediately get defensive. Like I've been there, and it's very but it's really not as like hard as people think. And especially when you consider that like nobody is necessarily calling you a bad person. They just want you to be a better person. Like they just want you to understand more.
especially if
um
you're going to be in community with these people that you say that you care about. If you
right.
know even if you're not a black woman, right? Like if you're another white woman and you're dating another white guy, if you can't go through his text messages or you see that his friends are casually saying racist stuff to you and around you, and they feel comfortable enough doing that, and you can't remove yourself from that situation or you don't want to date this person, later down the line, if you, let's say, like, it's like it's like later down the line, let's say they choose to adopt a black child, or like their
Hmm.
child brings home a black person or a person of color, it's like you have all these things against you that you didn't even stand up for, and then these people are going to be in the same community, in the same proximity to people that you now care about. It's not just about Black women having to look out and make sure that the man that they're dating is not racist. Even as a white woman, you have to making sure that you're around a community of people that are like not racist and are like not comfortable enough saying these things to you. Even for me, right, I had to like step back and really realize, like, like, I can't make people feel comfortable being racist around me. Because if people are not
Hmm.
comfortable being racist around me, they're not gonna want to be in community with me. They're not gonna like feel comfortable enough saying these things to people, and they're gonna actually have to question why they say the things that they say. It's not just like calling someone out simply, or like, telling someone that they're in the wrong. It doesn't do harm to people as people try to make it seem.
Mm-mm. It just might hurt their feelings, but it's like your feelings don't need to be hurt. You
It's the
just hurt
people you were
somebody's
talking about.
feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just very unempathetic because once again, we have never been taught to empathize with Black people. Like as white people, we're not taught to empathize with Black people. And I know this is
You're taught to empathize
very,
with their actions, and if you're holding their actions to an unfair standard, then you're going to see a lot of implicit bias be like presented.
yes. And especially in the immigrant community, it's kind of like either verbally communicated or like non-verbally communicated that you should align yourself with whiteness and white people if you want to succeed in this country, because you don't want to be like, I remember my mom talking about, arriving in the US, and she was like, the racial hierarchy was visible immediately. Like I could tell right away, oh, we're all supposed to hate the Black women. And I was like, oh, that's crazy.
And like, even for like really weird standards, like, they'll be like, all these girls, they're so ghetto, they're doing this, but I'm like, have you not been to a trailer park? Like every
No,
community had their
seriously. Have you not seen
version of
60
like
and Pregnant? Like,
ghetto people, like people that act out, like people that don't have manners. Every community has that group, but then like when it comes to Black people, that's like the only image that people see, or like the image that immediately pops into their head. Like someone can go up to you and be like, oh, how many baby daddies do you have, or do you have a weave in your head, or like make these certain comments. I'm like, we're like a small population. This is a very like a small population of the actual people that live here, and that's the first thing that you think of. And there's like so much history of like Black people in this country that you can point out to, that you can talk about, but that's the only aspect that you want to really put out there, that you want to actually discuss. And every other community has that sort of like community of people.
yeah, 100%. And it's the other thing about it too is that it gets like flipped around too on Black people. Like immediate, like people only will acknowledge like trailer parks and trailer park existence when it comes to arguing against Black Lives Matter or just like against
Exactly.
racial injustice. Well, I grew up in a trailer park.
When we were poor, it was like,
Yeah,
being poor has nothing to do with like the racist
your
abuse
skin
that Black
color.
people face. Because you can be poor and still have privilege. Like people don't realize it's a privilege to even be in America. Like there are people in other countries, like there are probably like Eastern Europeans living in worse conditions than a white American in a trailer park. Like you're able
Mhm.
to go to free public school. You're able to have some sort of public transportation. You're able to have a meal every day. And there are people in Eastern Europe that don't even have that. And then
Yep.
you want to talk about, well, I'm poor and I'm white and this didn't work out for you. And I'm like, maybe you got to ask your ancestors or something, or like ask them why they didn't do any of these things, because it's like you had a head start and you're still in this position. And so it doesn't even
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah, it's like white people only want to play oppression Olympics. Like, and again, they project that, right? Oh, is this the oppression Olympics? But they're the ones playing oppression Olympics, being like, well, I grew up poor too. Well, I'm a woman. Well, aren't we all women? And it's like, yeah, but that's the question that Black women are asking you. Like, you can't just like flip that around. That's gaslighting. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
it's because people are not taught the real history. And but it's like, how do then we all implicitly know that we should align with whiteness and power, like
It's
in
it's
order
all
to
through
win?
media. Like when you're talking about like the Sydney Sweeney campaign, like why is it like the first thought when someone thinks of someone that's innocent is like light skin and like like light hair? Why is that the first thought of someone instead of the character of someone like being
Mhm.
innocent? Why is the imagery is like, a person with lighter skin and lighter hair? Or like, why is it like when we see like animated cartoon characters, right? Like characters that don't have a race, let's say like they have a purple skin or like orange skin or whatever. Why is the immediate thought that when we try to humanize these characters, they're immediately white? Oh yeah, that's a white girl with orange hair, that's a white girl with purple hair. Why can't it be an Indian girl with pink hair? Why can't it be a black girl with white hair? Why does it have to be like these certain, like it's like it's so innate. It's people don't even realize it even starts when you're younger, right? Like
Oh yeah.
when you're watching a Disney princess movie, why is the first thing that people, the girls are indoctrinated with is like romance? Oh, you need to find a boyfriend, find a husband, like, and then they wonder why little girls, oh yeah, I have 7 boyfriends. And then the boys are worried about, oh yeah, I want to go explore. Like girl, like people don't realize that like when it comes to media, some things are so subtle that you just accept it, and then when it's like it's not it's validated by people, the people around you, and it's like told like, oh, this is okay, it's gonna hurt you in the long run. You know, we always talk about, oh yeah, girls are obsessed with romance. Girls love these romance books. Girls don't understand this, but it's like when you're a young girl, think about all the like the movies that you watched growing up. How many of these girls, they've always have a boyfriend. They always have a romantic interest. They always have to, you know, care about their beauty. You know, all the girls that are, you know, badly behaved and like don't have good character are always ugly, have deeper skin tones, have darker hair. And the girls are always, you know, always good, that are always pretty, have lighter hair, lighter skin tones. That plays in how, you know, we treat other human, like other people, and how we treat like, and how we like hold people to certain standards, you know. It's
And
like
it
we
goes
need
to
more.
that like disability intersection, and
Exactly.
it's very much like,
Subtle racism, like when we, like when people, you know, when, like how Disney, you know, Disney was known, like the man creator Walt Disney, he was known as a Nazi apologist. That man did not like Jewish people, and then you can see that in the imagery and the media that he creates about certain characters,
mhm,
like evil witches, like it is, you can see that in the imagery. So
the
like
big mouth, yeah.
the hooked nose, like all of those things play an impact in how like people view others and how people view little, like view girls. So it's like we need to, like when people talk about like, you know, inclusivity in the media, like that's extremely important, because when you're not exposing people to certain different types of people or explaining people's cultures, it's going to breed ignorance, and then people are going to make ignorant assumptions about certain people that aren't true. And if you're not exposed to that, and you're in a very like, you know, like very one-dimensional society or like social bubble, you can't know something until you're exposed to it. You can't unlearn something until you're exposed to it. And the fact that people are trying to you know, stop their kids to be you know, uh stop children from like learning about race, stop kids about learning certain aspects of the Holocaust, stop people from learning certain aspects of history, that is going to breed ignorance, and you know, breed certain ideas about people and society.
100%. That's exactly where this is all coming from. And it's because capitalism needs exploitation to survive. Like, I think that, the people up top or whatever, and I'm not saying it's all like some grand conspiracy. I'm saying this is by design, this is intentional. Like, this is not conspiratorial thinking, but I just think that people can tell that, even despite their best efforts, people really did kind of like turn over a new leaf, a new page in like 2020, and a lot of people left the church. I think that's the thing that is freaking them out the most, is that like 50% of church members like just up and left in 2020, like just never came back. And Christianity is one of the pillars that supports, white supremacy and capitalism and like using people as resources. Like, there are very early accounts of like how to have slaves in the Bible and like how
In
to
all
be a good
in
slave.
all
Like,
Abrahamic religions, especially, like
exactly.
you can see, like if your religion is mandating certain like sexist or misogynistic attitudes towards women, that can't be a religion that I personally would want to follow, regardless of their certain aspects that you say. Like, you know how people talk about how like, if a girl, a man needs to take care of you, a man needs to do all these things, otherwise he's not a real man. People don't realize like benevolent sexism, benevolent misogyny it's still misogyny. The fact that
Yes.
they view you as like a child and to be taken care of and can't make decisions for yourself, that sort of mentality stopped women from voting. It stopped women from holding credit cards until like the late 70s or almost early 80s. It stopped women from being able to pursue higher positions in the workforce because of this sort of belief that like because you're a woman, you have far less intelligence and you don't need to be making these business big decisions. It stopped women from being able to have Roe v. Wade because people were like,
Hmm.
you know, you're not right of mind, you know, you're not mentally sound, you know, don't know
We
what
can
decisions you're
decide for
making.
you.
We can
And that
decide
goes
for
right
you
back to
and
all
not
this. Mm-hmm.
you exactly like these sort of thought processes like oh I want to be a trad wife, you know, oh I'm just a girl, you know, those subtle messagings can affect the way that we speak up for ourselves and the
Yes.
way that we kind of justify bad things being done to us, you know, if you have the people around you telling you oh you know you're just a girl, you don't know what's happening, you're okay, you're going to be fine, you know, in some way, like we're always told, like, you know, the people around you know best. The people that you care for know best for you. And the people that are knowing best for you are saying these things to you. How can you truly be able to stand up for yourself and like make these decisions for yourself?
Yes. And the exploitation of Black women is key in this because white women need somebody to look at to be like, well, I don't want that life and give up their rights, which
Exactly.
across the board, but of course, very, very like in sorry, I'm forgetting the word, but like very much more impacts Black women, right? But white women will just live this like fairy tale dream of, well, I'll give up my rights and then I won't have to work. When it's like
Exactly.
you're first of all, you're still gonna have to work. Working like to keep a man is a hard work. Men are very high maintenance, okay? Like
Exactly.
you're gonna be working your ass off.
Like
But
pushing the
yeah,
trad wife aesthetic when it's like in reality like trad wives only existed for white women, like black women still had to work and still take
exactly.
care of their household. It's like that was not the reality for most women in America, and for people now trying to push that lifestyle, it's like that's not going to happen for you. It's not going to happen
Mm-mm.
for like a lot of white Americans today because it's like not many white Americans are in that financial position to be able to do so
The
and
men are
trying to
not
make it
getting paid enough to have a kept
exactly.
woman. Like, come on. It's so delusional, but that's why the exploitation needs to stay. And I think that's why they're like ramping up the racism, the anti DEI. Like, they need to make an example out of people. And the reason that they're able to make an example out of people is because everyone is very ignorant and very uneducated about how race relations impacts everybody, as but like very much including white people, very much including like how white people like even treat each other, like how white people are able to hoard wealth, like all of that is like all of this has to exist so that those 10 rich white men at the very, very top can hoard billions of dollars. Like, this is literally the reason. Because if we were to make our society like Black women and children centered, then we would not tolerate the exploitation of people, the exploitation of children, because we're tolerating that around the world right now. Even in the United States, I mean, children are like, ever since 2020, they have lowered the working age to the point where like 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds are able to work at like Burger Kings and McDonald's and stuff like that. And who do you think most of those kids are? You know, they're like just
Poor
poor
children,
children and
you
largely
know.
minorities, right?
If
And
you can't
so,
afford to buy tampons, guess what? You're gonna probably gonna want a job so you can afford those basic necessities for yourself.
yeah,
Like no rich person is allowing, you know, their 13-year-old child to go work at Burger
exactly.
King when they can provide them with those basic needs. They can provide them with more than what the basic needs that their child needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, question, what do you think about oh, we're echoing? I'm so sorry. Um, okay, somebody says no echo. What do you think about everybody that's kind of saying like Olandria is gonna get the same since Nick is an opportunist?
I think we're gonna have to wait to play it for it to be played out. I think with
Yeah.
what's happening with Kenny and Janae, it might be a wake up call for the other contestants and see like where their head is at. I wish that Alandra would ask him those political questions. And actually, the fact that Love Island doesn't let contestants like talk about politics is a very deep and clear indicator of how they're trying to set up certain contestants with people. Because if Janae had been able to ask these political questions towards Kenny in the beginning, like, who did you vote for? Who are you planning to vote for? Like those sort of political questions. Like while Love Island last year was happening, Donald Trump got shot in the ear. Like these type of things. Like I don't think Kenny and Janae would have been together. And the fact that I hope that Olandria asked these questions towards Nix. I hope she's able to like see his voting register and see like who he voted for the past 2 years and like be able to make that decision, because like it's like people are now, you know, want them to be together so bad. They say that, oh, their families want to be together. It's like, you know, like their families can want them to be together and they can still have like very much opposing views. Like
I was
I don't
gonna
know.
say his mom gave me the worst vibe. Like as an immigrant, like white woman, I have realized that, you know, the hierarchy is it gets sliced very thin towards the top, right? Where like even the kind of white you are, people view it as like, you know, either exotic or either like beneath them or whatever, like depending on what the context and the situation is.
Exactly. Like, oh,
And
you're
his
exotic if you're
mom,
like Italian or if you're Greek, but then if it's like, oh, you say I'm Estonian, they're like, okay, where's that? Like,
yeah,
is that some sort of Russian? It's like, no, it's not a sort of
yeah,
Russian,
they're
you
like,
know?
oh, were you a mail order?
A
Like,
mail order bride, like certain narratives being painted about even like people that are like white European, you know? It's like
hmm
people don't realize like white American, like Greek and like Italians weren't even considered white until like the late 60s, late 70s. And even then, like there's a certain negative stereotype about Italians. Like the like Sicilians that live in New York are not considered real Italians, even though, you know, they have a long lineage of being in America and coming from Italy, directly from Italy, you know? So it's very hierarchical and people don't realize like the messaging that's being sent about certain people, you know?
yes, and that's exactly the vibe that like Nick's mom gave me. Like, I was like, you know, if I came over to your house, I can just play it. I can just play out the script. You know what I mean? Like, I tell you where I'm really from. You make a comment about how you either can or can't hear my accent. You call it the Ukraine. You like make assumptions about it. You confuse it with a different country. You use it interchangeably with a different country. You ask me dumb questions. You ask me to say stuff, right? Like, oh, well, how do you say this? Dance monkey dance, right? And I'm just like,
Put on a performance about your ethnicity or your culture, even though like you're living as yourself.
mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's never good enough for them. They gotta like, you know what I mean? They gotta poke and prod and be like, no, 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 but really, like, I know you're not the same as me. And it turns into like this whole like, you're just like our little pet, you know? This is even how other white people have treated me, like other white women, like people I considered friends. The moment that they would start doing that shit, I'd be like, man, I just fucking misread you, you know? Oh, how do you say this in Russian? Oh, how do you say that? Oh, is it like, does your dad wear a tracksuit? Like, it's so freaking weird. Like, and I just cannot imagine like how much more that would be intensified and multiplied. Like, I don't even think I heard Nick's mom like really refer to Olandria by name. Like, it was just weird. Like, the whole thing gave me weird vibes. Like, I don't know, but we'll have to see.
We'll have
We'll
to
have to
see. I
see.
don't want to like say like, okay, this is
Yes.
definitely someone's. I want to
Mhm.
wait and see, because again, the families haven't like properly met. And again, like Olandria and Nick, I don't know if they've had those conversations yet, or if she saw his registry, or if she's like, you know, asked about his friends or any of those things. So I want to
Mhm.
wait and like see before we like make an assumption or say anything, because I don't want to put words in people's mouths and then like it becomes to bite me back in the ass. So I'm just gonna let
Well, that,
leave
yeah.
space for nuance.
Well, that, and I also feel like very hesitant to apply this kind of stuff to just like black women across the board. Like, oh, so now any black woman who's
That
dating,
dates a
like,
black woman, they're scamming, or like they only like them because of a racial
yeah.
fetish. It's like we can understand that people can have racial fetishes for black women while also understanding
Mhm.
that black women can also be loved and appreciated. And loved in their relationships without having that aspect. Like not every
And that's
single
what we
thing
need
needs to
to
be like
highlight. Yeah.
all interracial relationships are, good for black women, and every single man that's in a relationship with a black woman loves black people, and not every single relate commentary needs to be, they're scamming to be with a black woman, or he doesn't actually like a black woman, or like, he's having these like racist views about black women, or it's like a fetish. Like there can be a conversation for nuance without having to make these straight assumptions about people, and just like observing people and actually asking like the hard questions before you make these assumptions.
Yes, exactly. But see, that's what I mean by like these Love Island, like all of these shows have very clearly figured out that black women do well on screen. And I think
And
that's
they have the biggest
because
supporters. Black
yes,
Love Island is extremely popular with black women in the US before it like blew up last season. Like I remember watching like the fifth season, and like the tweets on Twitter would get like 300 likes, 200 likes. Like you had to be in the know to watch Love Island. And then the fact that last season blew the show up, and now obviously it's like a popular show outside of America, but like for an American audience, the fact that like this show is like pretty new to people, like their immediate assumption is like to compare it to other reality TV shows, even though other reality TV shows are able to see in real time, how people are talking about them, adjust to their behavior, not say certain things. And this reality TV show is like very different from like the other ones that we're used to in America.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, but these shows will like put, black women on the stage and be like, okay, like here, come watch. This is entertainment, like this is what y'all asked for. But it's like there's no thoughtfulness about it. There's no protections in place. Like nobody's asking themselves like, why do you think it seems like black women excel at so many things is because they've been held to the most rigorous of standards. They've been held to the worst of assumptions, right? So you have to work against the bad assumptions, and you also have to work towards the most rigorous standards, which makes you an excellent person, right? A lot of the time. But people don't understand that there for every excellent, black woman that kind of like meets all the requirements and does everything, there are, you know, untold numbers of black women who have been crushed by the system, crushed into, poverty, crushed into all kinds of like just really terrible conditions. And we just don't ask the right questions. Like we're like, oh, why black women are strong? Why are they strong?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my
Like we
God. Someone
can.
mentioned in the comments about season 2 of Justine of Love Island. Do you know what happened with that?
I only started watching last season, so
So
I haven't gone back and caught up. If you don't mind
Justine
filling me in.
was with Caleb for like the entirety of season 2, and they won Love Island. And then it came
Mhm.
out later that Caleb had a girlfriend, and that he did not like dark skinned black women, and that like he had these like very like colorist and like racist views about black women, and he was with Justine at the time, and they had like a lot of sponsorships. Like she decided to split the money with him and everything, and like it really did like it really like shocked a lot of black islanders. I think like during this season, it was like in contention with like another season from Love Island UK, where Yawande, she was kind of treated really, really badly in the UK Love Island series because of like her being a dark skinned black woman, and then constantly inviting men that did not like black women. So she didn't really have that many options. So that like those two seasons in contention with each other really made Love Island make certain changes on the show, so that like black women will feel more invited. So that's why like we see a more diverse cast of like black people and like just people in general on Love Island USA. But like that really did fuel a lot of the changes that Love Island made in the earlier seasons, and why we have like certain racial demographics that we do on Love Island right now. But yeah.
And it's interesting because, thank you. And it's interesting because it brings up a question too of like, because once again, we're not really addressing the issue at hand. And so then there's the question of like, do the black women on the show, especially the dark skinned women on the show, like it doesn't put pressure to like instead of ever competing or instead of ever like like just doing stuff that white women have always been allowed to do on these reality shows, like crashing out on each other, like kind of like, I don't know, just being an imperfect character. Like it just makes you wonder, like,
Be complex, you know, like
yeah,
you're
be
able to make
complex.
mistake,
Yeah.
like if you watch like Sex in the City with Carrie, like how Carrie is a very complex character. She makes mistakes. She's not a perfect being, but people still like her. It's like if Carrie was a black woman, would people still feel the same way? Would people still, you know, respect her or still like give her grace or still love her style or everything if she was a black woman? And people are trying to like make it frame it as, you know, oh, you know, it's not about race or, you know, like stop trying to make these assumptions. It's like no, like we need to make these assumptions because if it's like if you feel this way and you're like, you know, we shouldn't hold someone to that standard, or we can
Mhm.
like, you know, come like problematic characters or complex characters, that should be applied for everybody. And if you're not doing that, we need to ask yourself, why aren't you doing that, and why are you not holding someone to that standard, you know?
Yes. Yeah, so that's like kind of my question is like I wonder if they would ever feel comfortable, like even though yes, there is a diverse cast, we do clearly see that the women who kind of understand each other on that level, they stick together and there's no room for them to kind of like have a problem with each other. And I'm not saying like that they're not necessarily just good friends and like everything's fine, but I think there's like that extra level of like consideration, right? Before it's like with Olandria and Clark, you know, I feel like Olandria was like, okay, like I can't like I just feel like she was always kind of like having to react in ways that are like very kind
Be
of
polite.
filtered.
Be
Yeah.
polite to people
Yes.
that
Yeah.
aren't even her friends. Like that sort
Exactly.
of politeness that you have for people, like, or that you have for your friends is different from politeness you have for like strangers. You know, like if you date someone, you know, that's someone's ex, are you gonna be like, oh yeah, that's someone's ex boyfriend, I can't date him? No, it's because you don't know that girl. You know, you don't know that the ex girlfriend personally. So why do you have to feel bad about dating a new guy? You know, it's like
Mhm.
people want to do that with them, but then don't want to do the same thing for them. Even when I don't know, I know we're going back to like going in circles, but even with like that whole girls girl conversation and people are talking about, you know, Olandria and Shelly aren't girls. They're bringing up being girls. And I'm like, no. The first two episodes, Huda was the first person to bring up girls. She was the first person to try to befriend all the girls and make it seem like they all have a friendship and sisterhood. And that itself made it worse in the villa because when
Yes, because it was
Huda
a calculated move to only benefit
Exactly.
her.
Exactly. When new girls would come into the villa and be interested in Jeremiah, she would have the girls that she would call her friends and be like, yeah, she's a bitch, she's two-faced, she's doing all of this. And then the girls would feel hesitant to communicate with those girls or be friendly with those girls because you have another girl telling you, well, yeah, she's a bitch. I don't like her. You know, she's
You're
doing
my
all this.
friend, so you have to be on
You're
my
my friends.
side.
Why are you supporting her? Why are you letting her kiss him? It's like you came onto a show that's known for letting people date around. This is not like a one-on-one, you know, you become a couple and you stay together throughout the whole thing. It's no, you let people explore their options, even if those options are not you.
Also,
And
like,
then,
worry about your man. Like, why are you worried about
exactly,
the other women? He knows how to say
exactly,
no, obviously, to women kissing him. He
exactly. And
knows how to
Bella,
say no. He
Bella
did it
didn't
the
want
very
guys
first
kissing
night.
her. And she made the
Hmm.
guys kiss her on the cheek. Like people are allowed to have those standards for themselves. And you did not want to hold yourself to that standard. And that's why people got mad at you. Like people are
Yeah, you're
mad
not a
at
girl's girl because you're putting the burden on women. And
exactly.
especially black women, like the way that she was so comfortable, like talking about Amaya. I don't like that bitch. Like, why? You know, like just because she came on and I don't trust her, whatever. Like, just because she came on as a bombshell, like, well, you're not supposed to trust. That's the whole point of a bombshell,
It's to
right? Like,
test your relationship. And if your relationship
yeah,
is tested and someone like successfully
yeah.
gets your man, well, you know
Why are you
what? You're supposed to
weaponizing that
explore your other
against
options.
her? Yeah.
And you know, it's so frustrating because like people want to talk about the action and not the principle of it. It's like Olandria like kissed Ace. Olandria shook her ass in Ace's face, and Shelly didn't care because Shelly did not hold that sort of contentment for Olandria. Olandria was not telling her, "You can't kiss my man. You can't be interested in my man.
Hmm.
You can't do none of that." But she was mad at Huda for doing so because Huda held herself to that principle. And then now people want to flip it on Shelly, be like, well, you weren't mad at Olandria. Well, you weren't mad at these girls for doing this. Well, it's like, well, those girls didn't hold themselves to that standard. Those girls didn't tell her, you can't kiss my man. Those girls didn't tell her, you're not allowed to be interested in anyone else besides my man. You're not allowed to do any
Didn't
of those things.
essentially gaslight her. Yes. And then talking about the whole like Chris thing too. And again, not holding the man responsible. Like he's the one that switched up and was like, oh yeah, I'm actually just going to explore Huda and all this stuff. But like people use that against Shelly.
Exactly. And it's not her fault that Chris did that.
No.
Uh, uh, like like when people were talking about how Chris was pulling away from Huda, people were like, "Oh yeah, you're just jealous of Huda." Oh yeah, like Chris actually likes Huda. Y'all don't know Chris like we know Chris. Like they were hyping him up, and then until the last episode, people
And he
completely flipped
clearly
on Chris and
didn't.
saying like he didn't actually like her. He was doing all these things. He was doing this, but when people were telling you like, okay, like this man obviously wants to explore other people. He's not just interested in Huda. You people want to say that
Mhm.
they're just jealous of them. Like you can't just throw out the term jealousy anytime someone disagrees with you or someone has a conflicting opinion. And it's like it's the same thing that they're same tactic that they're using with like Olandria and Shelly. Like it's just so convoluted.
Yeah, and the whole thing of like, would it be better if I was ugly? Like all of that
No,
stuff is like,
yeah,
you're not a girl's girl. You were just trying to get out ahead of like you were trying like you knew what you were doing with that whole like setting it up as a girl's girl thing. And I'm glad you reminded me that that was Huda because for the longest time I was thinking that it was Ulissa that said that. And
no,
so
no.
yeah,
It was
that like
Huda. Huda from
really
the begin,
a
like the
whole nother
very
layer.
first two episodes did that. And then like Amaya came
Mhm.
in soon later and then she was calling Amaya a bitch. So when the girls were discussing like,
The girl's girl, yeah.
certain people were isolating others, it was like it's very obvious that it was Huda that they were talking about because Huda was the only girl that was calling
Mhm.
people bitches and saying these nasty things about people, but then like smiling in their face. And I'm like, you know, if you're gonna like Huda for being messy, you can't be hating on these other girls for doing that. Like, I don't mind someone saying that they like Huda for her being messy or for her doing these things. Like, at the end of the day, it might not be my cup of tea, but you know, people are allowed to like who they like. But when you're gonna be aggressive towards other people, call people mean girls, call people racist things to their like on their comments and their like even if you look at Shelly's comments right now, like she's still getting racial abuse on her TikTok.
She
Like,
can't, she will never be able to defend
and
herself
she
well
will
enough,
never. It's like
especially while she is like trying to sort of, she's being held to that standard where she can't just like lose it, where she can't really like say what she really thinks because she is probably afraid to, because she's probably doesn't feel safe to. Like maybe not
exactly.
even necessarily afraid, but she knows it's not safe for her to speak freely because people are going to be talking about making her eat knuckle sandwiches. Like that is insane to like
Even
the sweetest, like even if the edit was like whatever, like she's very sweet. She's very like the last person that I could even imagine saying that about, and it's so easy for people to do that, you
or
know?
wanting to use them as a punching bag, like
Punching bag
that was not acceptable. And you know, like
by a woman. A woman did that. A
exactly.
white
It wasn't
woman,
even a
of
man. It was
course.
a woman that did that. It's like you weren't even thinking about that when you posted that. You weren't like, and that's the thing when it comes to like the podcast that Olandria and Shelly did. People were mad at them for not being messy and naming names or like not saying certain things. It's just like, well, if they said it on the podcast, people would call them fake and saying, well, you didn't say this to their face. They said they're gonna save what they said for the
People might have
reunion.
doxed them. People might have put
Exactly.
them in a very real danger because they cannot handle the narrative. So like somebody asked in the chat, like y'all are still talking about Huda when these Love Island men are evil from all seasons. Yes, and we're talking about the men as like kind of the upstream issue, but the
But the main
problem,
abuse that Huda, that Shelly and Olandria have faced has been from Huda people that support Huda. It wasn't the men. Like as much as we will say we want to hold the men accountable, we can't see be in the same breath say hold men accountable, but then the abuse that women are facing is from other women. Like we can hold Huda accountable and still say like okay, like Huda is allowed to feel the way that she wants to feel without having to attack other black women. Me saying this is not me saying that I hate Huda or that like you know what Huda did, you know, she's the worst person imaginable. Like there are worse people that have done stuff on Love Island. But if we're gonna talk about like the abuse people are facing, Shelly and Alandra aren't facing abuse from Chris fans. They're not facing abuse from Pepe. They're not facing abuse from Ace fans. They're not facing abuse from the men on the island. They're facing abuse from people that are supporting Huda.
Yes. And this is people are acting like as though one of the patriarchy's main goals is not to triangulate women, and that white supremacy is that it's not one of their main goals to triangulate like different, people of color against each other. And this is where those things intersect. So it's like, yes, the men, of course, rain down chaos from above. But then who is caught in all of that crossfire? It's women.
Women,
And then it's like, who is most of the crossfire aimed at?
Black
It's
women.
going to be Black women because they are, once again, it's just like very unfortunately, we never got out of the mindset of thinking of Black women simply as resources. Like even the Kamala Harris, like, when people wanted to like talk about, voting for her, it was almost like there was so much pressure on her to still be perfect, to like clean up the mess and everything like that. Like I just don't
And she's still
um
facing blame for like Trump's
yes,
actions. People are like, what's happening in Palestine is because of Kamala Harris. I'm like, Trump is the one that negotiated that deal. If you're trying to blame
like
Kamala Harris for
yes,
not running a better campaign after like first 3 months, like she was able to be the candidate after her president decided to drop out of the race 6 months before the actual election because he
they
did a
really
terrible
just
job on
threw
the
her
debate,
in there.
and
That's what
then
I'm talking
expected her to
about.
like win the entire presidency. People run and campaign for like 2 years before a
It's
presidency. Like they
amazing that she did like, that she that's another thing is that she fucking killed it. Like I still think like, forgive my conspiracy you know, believing ass, but like I think that they had to have rigged that election. I think she should have won. And I think that like she did such an amazing job with that campaign, and it still is like backfiring on her. It's like two sides of the same coin, right? When people view Black women as like the saviors of society, it also gives all of us, it legitimizes the fact that we blame them for all the wrongs in our society.
Exactly. I think someone in the comments said that, Kamala Harris is still a raging Zionist. I think people don't really understand the political aspect of like America. Like, if you want to run for anything in office, it's either Democrat or Republican. There's very little space for independence or very little space for other political ideas. So when you're already running
That's on
against a
purpose,
system
by the way.
that
Yeah.
wants you to to go up on certain things. I'm not saying that being a Zionist is okay, but I'm saying that we as a people, if we're not willing to even tune into geopolitics of what America is doing, the people that are running these campaigns are going to go for the person that's going to go into a system already like knowing what they want to do, like
Okay,
how
yeah, the
many
people
people.
in here that are like trying to, or glazing politicians, all that, we're talking
Yeah,
about Black women in the context of a larger society. We're not here to have the political argument of like, oh, Kamala's a Zionist. Y'all know that they don't
exactly.
let people run. Like, y'all seen
Look,
have
look
you
with
not
Mommy
seen what
Donnie.
happened to even Bernie, like a white man who tried to be for the people? Like, they don't, there's like things that you're just not allowed to say. There's things you're not allowed, like like the whole thing is an industrial complex. Like, people need
And
to
people don't
understand that.
realize how it deeply like goes into like American culture. Like, like before social
Yes.
media, before people were allowed to like be able to say their own news, like people fully believed that like it was okay for us to invade Afghanistan and invade all of these Middle Eastern countries due to America propaganda and like uh all of these things, media,
And now combine Israel with all the Bible Christian propaganda, and times have finally
evangelicalism.
been a day. Like it's so crazy. Of course, people are like, like there's like a deep state thing there for sure. And it's like, why do Americans never question why they know so much about the Holocaust, but they know
About slavery.
nothing that
The
went on for hundreds of years,
the main basis
mind
for our
you.
country. I think the White House was built off of slaves, and we don't even know like certain things about the people that built them there. Like certain black towns were burnt down
Burnt,
and
yes.
they were not even able to properly integrate into society because of racism, and we're not barely even
Black Wall Street.
taught that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even if you look, like, Central Park was built off, I think it was like I think it was a native land, or it was a black neighborhood. But overall, the fact that they turned that space that non-white people were living in into a public space that everyone can use, but then like that is not like that treatment is not given to like other white people in this country. It's like, if you're not willing to look at something deeper than the face value of, or what it actually is, then we're gonna keep having these conversations in a circle. Like, what's happening like with like Palestine and Israel is a deeper issue within American geopolitics, and how America funds like wars in different countries, how America propagates certain dictators in certain countries in order to
Mm-hmm.
feed our own narrative. So if we're gonna, do this and talk about, now it's not only just about Palestine and Israel, it's about other geopolitics that America is involved in.
Yes, exactly. And people don't understand, like, people are like, oh, like Love Island and all this stuff, like everything that we platform as a society and the way that we react to those things once they are up on that platform is a representation of like everything at large, especially when Black women are involved. It shows us exactly where we stand on the margins, right? Like, where we stand. Do we stand with the least protected people in our society? And this season has shown that we definitely don't. And I don't know about you, and maybe I was just like not on Love Island TikTok, so I don't mean to be like ignorant, but it definitely didn't seem like people were as hot, last year about things that, Black women were doing on the show. Like, I know that there's, the regular amount of, racism that usually happens. But it seems like, this season, the violence was definitely turned up a notch. Like, the overt violence, the like hacking of accounts. And mind you, it was against like Olandria and Shelley, who, even if you go by like respectability politics and like whiteness politics, they were far like less inflammatory than, for example, like Janae and Serena. Like, I've been watching, the scenes from last season, and they were definitely like kind of crashing out every once in a while, and like definitely not as reserved. And I don't know, it just seems like it was just hate for the sake of hate this season. Like, it really, people were finding reasons.
To not like them, or like, they're
Mhm.
boring, I don't really like them, they're not being real, they're being fake. But it's like,
But then the
y'all
next
want to
week,
dog
it's
them
like,
out when
yeah,
they
they're
show
too
any little bit of
much.
emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't handle it whatsoever. Yeah, the girls dogged the men last season. Yeah, it was kind of great.
Great
Wow.
watching that. It was great watching. They were like, they're okay. If I don't find a love connection, I'm gonna go. This season is now like Friendship Island. Who can we keep on the island that we're friends with? But then people are hesitant to explore new connections. Like the way that they were hounding on Bombshells every time they came in. It's like, you want to hound on Bombshell because you can't explore the person that you find like interesting. Like, if people were able to actually explore, maybe Bella would have ended up with Taylor. Maybe Nick would have ended up with Landria earlier. Maybe all of these things would have been a lot better if the girl, like, they didn't have that established girl friendship island from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think also, like, as you're talking about it, it also reminds me a little bit of like purity culture, because I do think that the Bombshells were received a little bit differently last season, and people were not as overtly like hating on the women because of what might happen between them and their man. Like, you're literally triangulating, like Huda was literally triangulating women into conflict, even though Jeremiah was like, like, he was bought in on that $100,000. Like, I think he really wanted to stick it out with her. He really like, especially the first few episodes, like, he was not budging off of his stance at all. And instead of like noticing that and being like content with that, she just kept pointing fingers at like other women and like dragging them into it. And I'm like, this is like a weird purity culture thing. This is like a 304 prejudice, like, you're viewing these women that come into the villa as like the equivalent of like Jezebels or something like that. And I'm
And
like,
it's so
this.
unfair because if a black woman came onto the show and was like a single mother and left her child back home to be on the dating show, the standard would have been completely different. People would not
ins-
have, wanted to follow those women or like follow them crashing out. Like if a black woman called a man like a bitch and whatever, I'm not gonna cuss, like all of these things to them to their face, would they still be held to that same standard? Would they still be loved? Would they have like 4.9 million followers? Like, would that still be that standard? And I can't confidently say yes. I can't say that, like, I truly do believe that, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. So someone says trying to project racism onto Huda as a white woman is crazy.
No. You can, people, we're not saying Huda, we're saying the people that support her. You can still support her without having to eject racial abuse onto other people. And the fact that people were trying to like recreate this PPG with like the two black contestants and Huda as the main girl again, that to me is like you guys putting that projection onto them. I didn't say that they, Huda did that. I'm saying that the viewers themselves were the ones that were doing that. I'm not blaming Huda. I'm not saying that Huda's at fault. I'm not saying that Huda doesn't deserve the followers that she has. Again, it's good that a single mom that was able to go onto a show and to still be able to gain that much following is great. But
Mhm.
the people that are saying, trying to say that like it's like the same is not, it's not at all. And if people who are like, oh yeah, like these black girls they crushed out on TV, that they would have been treated the same, would not, it's not true. There you
People are refusing to see the like actual evidence, right? Like the actual, it's like, let's look at follower count. These are all, other than Clark, these were all OG Islanders, right? Like Huda was an OG Islander. Like, why did she get so much screen time to the point where she was able to gain all of these followers? You know, why were certain parts of her narrative framed as the way that they were? Why were certain parts of Shelley and Olandria's narrative framed as they were? Because, it comes out now that basically they tried to paint Olandria as clueless and as like
they
having,
the narrative
you
that they
know,
painted with Olandria is similar to the narrative that they painted with Janae, because they were both black women that were extremely beautiful, extremely desired, that were not getting the proper treatment in the island. And for like to see that in like real time, honestly, it was just like so annoying because like people wanted to ignore the producer's cut and say, okay, what was shown on TV is what actually happened. But then when it comes to other contestants, it's like they didn't get enough screen time. Certain conversations were cut. A lot more nuance is given to non-black islanders than islanders themselves. And whatever is shown on TV must be their true example, or must be like their true, example of their character.
yeah, and so it's like we're not projecting racism onto Huda, which is why, like, I as a white woman, like, I did wait to speak on that because I was like, I'm not, I don't feel like it's really my place to litigate things when we only have edits. But as soon as like Huda came out of the villa and just threw the girls under the bus, I was like, it's a wrap. Like that's what I'm, that's when it's kind of beyond the shadow of a doubt for me. But it's kind of like we can still call things out when we see them. And it's also like, why didn't people just like listen to black women when they were having like hunches about, oh, Huda might just be using these women, like whatever, like why did like a white woman need to say something necessarily? Like, I don't know. It's like a lot of, there's just a lot of things that I think as a society we're really trying to figure out around these issues. And we just have to be wise and discerning about it. And we can't just assume that people are like projecting racism when really there are facts that speak to the difference of treatment. There are facts that it's kind of like, I don't know, Shelley and or Olandria were not invited on Call Her Daddy. They were not, given this immediate platform. I mean, Huda less than like 8 hours after the show was on freaking Call Her Daddy. Like, that's great. Like, imagine the show just ended. You just got off the plane and you're on the biggest podcast right now in the world, and you're about to have an episode that's going to garner like millions and
So
millions
much
of views.
sympathy, like
Yeah,
if you can have sympathy
sympathy.
for
Yeah.
Huda, Why
Yeah.
can't we have sympathy for Shelley and Olandria? I'm not saying that like we need to hate Huda and then we need to love Shelley and Olandria. We can't. It's like, why can't either we can both have sympathy for all of them, or we can all be harsh towards all of them. But you can't look at me and like be like, Huda deserves all this sympathy. Huda deserves grace, but then Olandria and Shelley don't deserve grace. Like they can't have that grace, or even Clark doesn't deserve grace. Like
Yeah.
all of these women all deserve grace, and I think trying to like to put what happens to them as like blame them for what happens to them is unfair.
It really is. And I don't think that, like, I don't know. It's also interesting because, oh, sorry, my shit's like falling. It's also interesting because when Huda like came out and said, I don't hate Alandria, so why wouldn't, like, nobody else should either. I just think that that is kind of problematic because why would anybody orient whether they're going to be hateful and racist or not onto how you feel about someone? Like, to me, that was kind of the last straw in, like, oh, I think Huda really has some ignorance associated with this. And this is why I speak about like how immigrants relate to the system and how immigrants relate to like the racial hierarchy that exists in this country, because it it's like a little bit clear that Huda has this like kind of the same level of ignorance where she's like, I see how white people treat me differently, and I think it's the same as how white people treat all women of color, or like all people of color. And
And
it's like,
even
wow,
colorism plays into it as well. Like,
exactly.
if Huda was a darker skinned Arab woman, would she be receiving that same grace that
Mm,
they were giving her?
mm,
Like it's not only just racism. Colorism plays a huge aspect in how we give grace to people and how we give sympathy. It's not a surprise that people who have lighter skin, who are seen as more innocent, or deemed given sympathy, versus women that are darker skinned are not given that same sympathy. Like with Amaya went through the similar journey that Olandria has went through, but she was the person that received sympathy. She was the person that received grace. She was the person that was allowed to express herself and be her genuine self. But then when it comes to Olandria, it's like, she doesn't even that grace. She needs to go. She needs to leave the island. She's so strict. She's so this. Like, it's like, if you can give this grace to Amaya, even though Amaya unjustifiably crashed out on Shelly, was yelling at Shelly for what Ace did. It's like, okay, why don't we hold her to that standard? Why do we have to only hold Olandria to that standard? We need to racism and colorism for me, can't really be separated when we're talking about this, because like, yeah,
yes.
like Huda is a lighter skinned woman, like comparatively to like Olandria and Shelly. But if she was darker skinned, or she was the same color palette as them, I don't think she would have gotten that same grace that she's gotten this season.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that is like plays into the Janae and what's his face thing, Kenny, because he clearly there's that hierarchy, like
Especially with
again.
Dominican households, like Dominicans, like there's just like a conversation about like Dominicans say like they're not black, they're Dominican. And
Mm,
Kenny could very well have like black family members in his family that are Dominican. So the fact that he was saying this to his friends and felt so comfortable saying this, saying, yeah, I'm going to play her, even though you most likely have black relatives in your family, speaks to how, like, even within immigrant households, they may have people who are darker skinned or people who are black, but hold these certain racist viewpoints towards their own people, or towards people that look like them, or towards people that they love. And it's
mhm.
very telling that even that, like, Kenny's not a white man, like Kenny's obviously like Hispanic, Latino, that this is still happening. So I feel like that certain just like plays a certain aspect into this about when it comes to like Love Island and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it plays into like all of the it's just like that aspect of the immigrant culture too, where like I know people that are very obviously Hispanic, but they will like align themselves with whiteness and they will vote for Trump, they'll vote Republican, right? For policies that will arguably be the harshest on them and their communities
And
and
people that they love. Like
and
they'll
people that
literally
they
see a
love.
man that is like, white American man that has a Vietnamese wife and vote for policies that are against Asian people, East Asian people. Like you can have Trump call, your wife's family like people viruses, or like the people that eat dogs, but then you yourself don't believe that about your own wife. But you're voting for policies that believe these certain things about your wife or about your family, about your kids, about your
Mhm.
grandkids.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, they probably, somebody mentioned that it like the privilege that they have in their countries doesn't like carry over into the US. I think that's a
Exactly.
really good point because it's like you are being kind of brainwashed, by colorism to think that you're going to be an exception everywhere you go. And that's,
To the rule because you're lighter skin or because
yeah.
you are closest to a white person, even though like regardless of your skin tone, they still see you and still see you as an Asian person. They see you as a black
Yeah,
person.
they're never
They don't
gonna.
differentiate Africans from Caribbeans from Black Americans. It's no, you're all black, regardless of what coloring you are.
And like I said, when we were talking about this earlier, on top of that, they will look at somebody like me and treat me, like a regular, white woman, whatever. But then as soon as they find out I wasn't born here, it switches up. It immediately
Switches, or like your
becomes,
culture isn't similar, like, oh, you didn't eat this growing up. Like, no, like you're Eastern European. Not all Eastern European people have the same culture. And even
mhm,
in Eastern Europe, like there are Asian people who are Eastern European, like there are like indigenous people who are Eastern European. Like it's all not like all one white utopia where everyone is white and everyone has blonde hair and blue eyes. Like it's extremely diverse. And like that
yes.
sort of messaging where like people are like, oh yeah, if you're from Eastern Europe, you're like probably a white person with blonde hair. It's like, no, like it's very diverse culture, very diverse like people that live there. And when you want to send certain messagings about certain people, that's going to influence how they treat you and how they think of people that come from that country.
Yeah, and mind you, we also have very real like racism and colorism in those countries too. Like it's not like it doesn't exist. I mean, we share Ukraine like shares land and stuff with people that are darker skinned, and there are slurs for those people. You know what I mean? Like even though they are the only like feature differences will be like darker um
Hair or darker
hair and stuff.
skin
Yeah.
or like different features.
Or like different like traditional clothing or something. It's like, oh, well, that's, this kind of slur. This woman is this kind of slur. It's terrible. It's not even like we get to it's not even like people in those countries get to escape that just for looking different. And it just goes, it's such a nuanced issue that can be like sliced very, very thinly. Like I said, even when it comes to like communities of color, black communities, there are like hierarchies there because it's all a hierarchy, because that's the whole point, is like to inflict the hierarchy on as many people as possible because that lends itself to exploitation. But of course it's going to be the hardest on the people that are, towards
Within
the,
that hierarchy. Like
yes.
hierarchies don't just affect like racist people and how they treat others, it also affects people in those communities. And if people in those communities subscribe to those hierarchies of like colorism, of racism, of like xenophobia, whatever, it's going to like those hierarchies are there to break down those communities in order
Yeah.
to make racism, in order to make patriarchy a lot easier.
Yes.
You can't enforce those certain systems on people that are united as one, regardless of how they look like or their facial features or their their skin color.
And capitalism too, because imagine if Kenny didn't think he could exploit Janae, we would have seen his true colors right away.
Exactly. If
But
he didn't think,
because,
oh well, I could like this black woman and people are going to support me, he wouldn't. He would have probably gone with Kayla or Liv or
oh,
someone
for real.
else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think the girl that he brought back from Casa was like more light skinned. Like, I don't know.
Like a lighter skin. I follow her. She's like a
Mhm.
lighter skin, like black girl, but like still like you can obviously see that she has some sort of ambiguity to her. I don't know how to
Yeah,
say it,
yeah,
but like
yeah.
she's obviously very different from Janae. And
Hmm.
she's very tall and skinny. And Janae is like a shorter woman, darker skinned woman that's on the curvier side. So like completely different, like opposites. So that's why
Yeah,
I think
very
it
different
hurt Janae more.
perception. Yeah, how
It
they're going
hurt
to be
Janae more to see
perceived.
her be like that because like there were obviously darker skinned girls in that villa and you still chose her. It's like, okay, were you actually interested in me? Or like actually like the way that she cried, like you could see that it genuinely did hurt her.
Of course. And yeah, and it's like, it's so easy for us to conflate, like, oh, that's just somebody being a man. Like, those are just man actions versus, like, like it kind of comes back to like having different standards for men versus women. Like, the fact that he was even like allowed to do that and people still like supported them as a couple and like, we're like, no, Janae, just forgive him. Like, it's all good. And I'm not saying it's the kind of thing that's like, oh, the signs were there all along. This is just like
Like he could have
societal.
genuinely liked Janae and still wanted to exploit her. You know, like
Yeah.
people,
Yes.
not all, like not everything is black and white. You can want to exploit someone and still think, wow, I still like this person. Like there are plenty of people online who make like interracial dating content, but they don't
Hmm.
like the person that they're with because they see
Hmm.
the financial gain and they see that the sort of like reputation that they gain when they have that. You know, it's like it's not always like okay. Like when it comes to racism, like racism is not only about hate. Racism is about exploitation. Racism is about, like there are people who are racist that will have like adopted black children. There are people who are
Yes.
racist that have black friends. So people don't genuinely think that they can be racist while they like enjoy certain aspects of people's culture. Like there are people who enjoy rap music, that love rap, that love Kendrick Lamar, that love R&B, and they do not like black people or they do not want black people in their spaces. Like you could go
They
to
just want the
clubs in like certain
culture.
countries and like they are like no black people allowed or no foreigners allowed and they're playing rap music. Like these
Hmm.
things are not always just like, oh, because of racism I hate everybody. Some things can be racist and they still like aspects of people's culture. Like you don't need to like it's not
K-pop.
it's yeah. Like a lot of mixed kids were born from like some people's like racist assumptions about people, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. 100%. Like, yeah, it just keeps coming back to that. It keeps coming back to like, there are people in our society that we are not afraid to use as resources, that we're not afraid to approximate ourselves to like, for personal gain. And it is just very insidious because when we see examples of it like this on this scale, right, a woman was lied to for a year, everybody assumed she was being cheated on, and then it turned out to be like, way
Worse than
worse.
that. You
Yeah,
know, like she said I think someone's like she would have rather be cheated on than
of
like find
course.
that out because it's
Yeah.
like not only does he hate you, he hates people that look like you and he was willing to sleep with you. He was willing to
He
like
talked about having children with you,
have
like.
kids with you to like let you go to Spanish classes and learn Spanish and meet your family and do all of these things while wanting to exploit you and laugh about it with his friends and do all of these things and be comfortable with the other black people around you. Like literally like Leah's dating a black man, Serena and Cordell are both black. Kenny is black and Kenny was one of like no, not Kenny. Oh my gosh. Kendall. Kendall is literally black and like was friends with Kenny. Like you're around like a lot of black people, a very major black majority cast, and you are still comfortable talking to your friends like that and saying these things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that is just terrifying. And it's like we're shocked when we're confronted with examples like this, but like we write off like so many examples, it's like that femicide pyramid where like it starts with sexist humor and then it goes all the way up to like femicide, but like we ignore all the things as a society. And then when it gets to femicide, we're like, oh my God, how could
Like
we
what
have
happened? But
prevented
you were just
this?
joking on TikTok about hitting a woman and how you're gonna beat your 8-year-old daughter up if she brings home a boy, or like beating up your mom if she like made an OnlyFans, or like doing these things like inciting violence against women,
Mm-hmm.
like as a joke. But then when it comes to like femicide, people are like, oh my gosh, how could this
Yeah.
happen?
How
Oh my gosh, how
horrible.
could this do
Yeah.
this? Like how could this
Yes.
happen? When you joke about something serious, people are not gonna take it seriously.
Hmm. And I
Like
think
make
it's just applied like that much more to Black women because it overlaps with racist humor and like racist presumptions because that whole pyramid is like, approaching without consent, touching without consent, You
You know,
know,
you're making
and
that a big deal when in actuality it's like, no, like that is a big deal. And they're like, even like when people make certain comments about like, oh, like women talk about, yeah, don't sexualize this, but then they sexualize themselves. I'm like, no, someone can be sexy without you having to sexualize them, or you thinking
yes,
that you are entitled to touch someone's body. Just because
yes,
someone is going to a club doesn't mean that you're entitled to touch up on them, or entitled to like spike their drink, or try to invite them back to your house. Like, just because someone does something doesn't mean that it gives you an invite to touch them or like make certain assumptions about them. You know,
yes,
when we allow
yes.
for that lifestyle or allow for that like behavior to be okay, we justify rape culture, we justify purity culture, we justify these things. And it shouldn't matter, regardless of what someone is wearing or doing, that you shouldn't feel comfortable enough to exploit them. You shouldn't feel comfortable enough to be in that position to try to take advantage of somebody.
And it's crazy because white women will watch that whole pyramid like happening to them, right? And be like, "Oh yeah, this is horrible." And then when it comes to black women, they're like, "Let me touch you. Let me touch your hair. Let me touch you
Your
inappropriately."
cheek when they're doing that to Olandria. Like, let me go and do
Mhm.
that. It's like, no. Like, when someone tells you that, and like as a white person, like you shouldn't be doing that, and you're like, well, why are we making it about race? Why are we saying me as a white person? Why can't we just do this? It's like, no, like you feel comfortable enough doing that because you're in a space where you don't think that that person is deserving of respect. Because I'm like, would you go up to
Or
another white
boundaries.
influencer? Would you go up to like Liv or Kaylor and like touch their
No.
hair and kiss them and hug them, and you do
Move
not
them
even
by
know
their
them?
waist, so like that
Grab,
one white lady did
touch their
too.
butt. Like, would you do that?
So weird. Or like I don't know if you remember that season of Love is Blind where Jimmy and Chelsea were like arriving to the party with and then Jimmy saw AD
And
and
he's talking about her butt,
immediately,
and he's talking, oh yeah, you should go touch it. Like, oh my gosh, like you don't even see her as a
yeah,
human being enough to deserve respect. And it's like, if this was another white girl, would you be okay with your future husband going up to touch a girl's butt? Would you be fine with
in
that?
fact
Would you
she
feel
would be offended
exactly
because she views that other woman as actual competition or as actual, like
dehumanizing? You know.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, like be respectful here, but oh yeah, she is stacked, like oh, that was so gross. And it's like I hated having to defend like Chelsea against Jimmy, and then, like it's very much it like muddies the issue. Like that's why people were oh my God, don't even remind me about the bean dip. Like that jail. That was horrible. Yeah. Kendall is trifling too. Yeah, I mean,
All
he's
know,
always
like
been.
we all know Kendall's trifling, but like we don't know these people, so I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I know his true character. But and the fact that he unfollowed Kenny, I'm like, that speaks towards something. So
Yeah, of course. Yes. Um it just gets like because we're not acknowledging the root of the issue, that's where it gets confusing, like defending people or standing people or talking about misogyny, like regular versus misogynoir. It's because we just continue to ignore where all of it is coming downstream from, and that's that we never acknowledge the exploitation of black people, but especially of black women who were exploited like even more because they had the ability to bear other human beings into existence, and they were forced to do that in order for slavery to continue. Like they
and
were
not and be viewed as property, and if you have their future children, despite like have some of them being half white, be viewed as property to inherit. It's like these women
Mhm.
are good for entertainment, they're good as friends, but if you are put into the main position and like the main spotlight, or you are deemed like the main character of a season or something like that, suddenly the position that you're in is like a lot more harsher. Well, you should hold yourself to a higher moral standard. You shouldn't be having sex with men on TV. But then when like other girls can go and do it, it's like, oh no, they're just fun. Oh no, she's just having fun. Oh no, like she's just enjoying
Mhm.
herself. It's not that serious. It's like
Why are we
you
all coming down on her? Yeah.
exactly. You're good as a support character, but if you are put in a position where you are better than someone, or someone views you as better than someone else, suddenly you need to be humbled. Like a lot, like the term humble was used specifically towards a lot of these black contestants this season. Like Clark needs to be humbled. Alandra needs to be humbled. Oh, they think they're all that. Oh no, they think they're doing this and that. But I'm like, why do you think these women need to be humbled? If you tell yourself, if you feel the need to tell someone that they need to be humbled, I want someone to genuinely ask themselves, why do you feel that way? Even if I don't like
Mhm.
someone's personality, or I feel like they're being cocky, telling someone they need to humble themselves speaks towards more towards you than the other person, regardless of what that person is doing.
Yes, and when people say it's not that deep, it's very crazy making too when you have done like, when you've studied these things and like when you've had to like go out of your way to like know the facts, because it is that deep. It is because the fact that we never acknowledged the propertification of other human beings is exactly why somebody named their punching bags, right? Like objects after women and then proceeded to punch them,
Like, you don't even think about
wishing
your
that they were
actions
those
before doing
women.
them. You
Hmm.
know? Like, why was that? Like, you didn't even stop to think, maybe what I'm doing might not be right. Maybe I should think about this. But then like, when it comes to other people, you're like, maybe we should give them nuance. Maybe we should give them
Hmm.
grace. Maybe we should like think about this before we decide to like paint this narrative of somebody else. It's like you didn't even think about that when it came to a black person, but you want to think about it when it comes to like a non-black person in
Yeah,
comparison, you know?
yeah. Or when Huda goes like that to kind of like that's
Yeah, you're my
that's
girls. You guys are gonna support me through anything. But it's like you don't even know these girls.
yeah.
They could
And
very
you
well like be bad people, and you want to automatically like just invite them into your space and have them be your minions. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like they're their own people. There's like you're your own person, and like
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's kind of like, with it's always been this way with feminism, and this is why we call certain things like white feminism, and there's like intersections there too, where it's kind of like where you're just allowed to get away with more. Like maybe you're not white, right? Like Huda, but you're still allowed to I don't know if it's like okay for me to use this term just to like describe it, but it's kind of like you're doing things to black women that have historically like hurt them, the mammification of Olandria, things
yeah,
like that.
definitely.
Like
I
the way that she came
wholeheartedly
out of the
agree with
villa,
that.
like, yeah, cuddling up to her and like all
Exactly.
this stuff just to be like, well, as long as I don't hate her, you guys shouldn't be awful and racist towards her. Like,
Exactly. It's
oh,
like there like people were only okay with Olandria when Olandria apologized to Huda. When Olandria was like apologetic, like always wanting to support Huda. But when Olandria was like holding Huda to like a high standard that Huda herself held other people to, she's
hmm,
mean, she's doing all of this. I remember when they just had came out the villa and Huda was literally cuddled up with Nick and Olandria. Huda was the person that was initiating the hugs, that was pulling Huda to this, putting Olandria to the side, that was cuddled up on Olandria. Olandria didn't pull Huda to her. Olandria didn't put her into the live. Olandria didn't do any of that. Huda was a person that initiated that. People were like, "Oh wow, Olandria actually cares about Huda." Maybe let's not go harsh on Olandria because Olandria is actually friends with Huda. But let's say Olandria decided to cut her off, or didn't decided she's like wanted space from her. Would people be okay with that? Would people like be harsh towards Olandria? And I would say no. Like they were mammifying her and saying like like making her be Huda's mom. And I'm like, no, that's
I
not
was gonna
okay.
say to that point too, when Huda was like, "Yeah, I'm your child, I'm Hilton," all this stuff. It's like, no, you're a grown woman with a child. Like, why would you infantilize yourself right next to Olandria like that when you are actually a mom? Like, you are the one, if anything, in this situation that can be the nurturing, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, you there's more reason for Olandria to say something like that. But it's like, no, because Hood is just like closer to whiteness. It's okay for her to infantilize herself that way. And like people were eating it up. And I just don't think it would have been the other way around.
Like if Olandra was the one that was hugging Huda while Huda was on live and hugging her and taking up her time and calling her Huda's child, people would have been like, Olandra's clout chasing. Olandra now suddenly wants to be nice to Huda. Olandra is doing this and that to gain followers or whatever. And I'm just like, no, like this is not the standard that you guys think you're applying to everybody. Like it's not.
And I'm just afraid that it became very clear when Huda came out of the villa that she did the calculations and was like, oh, I don't need them. People like me enough as it is. I'll be fine. And that was like really disappointing because I was like, we have to like, for me, like I feel like I kind of have to hold out because of the editing, and like we just never know, like maybe it's the producers, the editors that were kind of putting this vibe on things, because we do know
Exactly.
that that happened last season.
Exactly. And I
And
don't
it's
want to
like
be
soon
like
as
too
she
harsh
came
on Huda
out,
because I'm like, okay, Jeremiah, we didn't like editors would cut out conversations of Huda and Jeremiah while they're having conversations together. And I'm like, why didn't you show the full conversation? Why was that not shown? Like, I'm gonna wait until the reunion for me to fully develop my own opinion about certain people before I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna distance myself, or I'm like, I don't
right,
really like this person because the editing this season was so terrible. Like you're cutting people off in the conversations that they're having with someone in real time, like that's not fair. It's not fair to the contestants, it's not fair to the viewers, especially. Like I genuinely think that like a lot more people should hold their opinions and wait about certain things, about certain situations before we speak on them, because like obviously we don't have the full context of a lot of things. And like trying to use like the Casa Amor people as proof for certain things was so stupid. Like you were there for like 2 days. Some people were there for like 24 hours after meeting the girls, and they want to hear about their opinions about the girls. Like someone couldn't meet Hitler and think he's a
right.
nice person, but that doesn't mean that he's a nice person. Like what he like excuse his behavior. So like
Long term, yes,
long
he
term
may have had a
behavior,
little agenda there. Like long
long
term, he may
term,
not have been a nice guy. I still remember
exactly.
the
And
Reddit
he
thread
could still be
about
a nice person.
Trump.
He could still
Yeah.
treat his wife nicely. It doesn't mean that like he
Hmm.
excuses his behavior. So like people trying to use the Casa More people of all people as signifiers of people's relationships, signifiers of people's like personalities, and they barely even interact with these people, saying, like one of the girls, I forgot her name, but she was like the only girls that were, nice to us was like Huda and Amaya. I'm like, you're out the villa, you're seeing certain narratives being painted about certain people. You didn't even like these girls, they're not obligated to like you because your goal was to steal their man. So why do they have to
Right.
be nice to you,
No grace whatsoever.
And
Zero
it's like
grace.
they've known you for like 24 hours. Like they're not going to be your besties. I'm sorry. And like this expectation that women have to be nice, that women have to be
Especially
like
black women.
welcoming,
Yes.
like I have to be like nice to everybody and like be self servitude. Like the guys weren't held to that standard. Like
No.
some of the guys didn't talk to each other, have close friendships with each other, and like they're not being told they're not boys. They don't
Even
care for the
publicly, I mean,
guys.
like Ace was like dogging on Jeremiah the whole
Yeah.
time.
And like he was able to do that. And not everyone might not agree with that. I like that it was they were being messy and stuff. Like I enjoyed that aspect of the show. Like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, like they were terrible, but like people were dogging on Jeremiah, and then when Jeremiah left, suddenly people wanted to be like, oh yeah, they should have kept Jeremiah. But I'm like, if you really wanted Jeremiah to be there, why didn't you vote for Jeremiah? Like
Hmm.
the only
Yeah.
reason why Jeremiah was even in the bottom was because people did not vote for him at all. Like
Yes.
the narrative between Jeremiah switched completely overnight. And I'm just like, okay, like you guys incited Huda's crash out. Y'all were the ones that separated Huda with Jeremiah. And then now you're getting mad at her for crashing out. But then like you didn't vote for Jeremiah when he was in the bottom three. Now you're
Hmm.
getting mad at the Islanders for voting him out rightfully because they thought that he was playing Huda because what Huda was telling everybody else. So it's just like it's everybody. It's the Islanders' faults. It's the producers' faults, but never the fault of the viewer. Never the fault for the viewer for trying to see nuance or not make rash decisions before like having certain narratives about people.
100%. And the amount of people that I see just like pulling takes straight off of Chat GPT and getting like, millions of views and like a couple 100,000 likes. And like the way that people want us, like have wanted us to be so reactionary and so quick to like jump down people's throats this year, whether it be like there were even certain men whose throats I wasn't willing to jump down because I'm like, I don't know, I might be saying too much. I don't know enough, but like people were like clamoring for certain narratives. And it's just been a very different vibe this season. Like I don't know what it is, but it's been a very different vibe. I think that the messaging is definitely coming from the top, that like white people and, other um other people that want to be racist like can basically go mask off, and it has been
And the viewers are not
yeah.
the producers are not going to check it. The producers would most likely encourage that. I think I don't know if like because like all some new information is coming out, but recently they found out that like Janae was telling the girls on the island like last season that like she wanted like a Dominican man, like a Spanish man to that was like 6 foot to like come in and sweep her away. And the fact that the producers brought Kenny in, it's like they were not looking out for her like emotional and mental well-being. Like Janae was like one of the people that said she wanted to leave the island if she didn't find anybody, and they were not going to let her leave the island. It's like you're manipulating these people.
Michaelandria. They literally
Exactly.
swooped her up in a car and were like, "You're not going
Let
anywhere."
her
And
get in with Nick. And it's just like,
yeah,
okay. And she was willing to like accept being let go. She was willing to like leave the island. But you want to keep these people in for the entertainment. You
for
want
the
to
entertainment.
sleep deprive them. You want to make sure that
Mhm.
if they leave unwillingly that they have to pay for their whole plane ticket, and they're like from Fiji to America like the next day, like, and you're only paying them like I think it's like $1,500 a week. Like to me, it's like it's breeding a cycle where like they feel like they have to stay because no one wants to pay like a $2,000 ticket to try to fly back home. Like no one wants to do that, and like they deprive them of their phone, deprive them of the time. Like I want people like watching this show to not take it so surface level.
Yes, because it is that deep.
It
Like
is
that's what
that
people
deep.
have been trying to explain. Like that's what, even the fact that there had to be these like statements made by the show or like Ariana Madix
The fact
this
that they have
year.
therapists on the island,
Yeah. Yeah. And
like
it's like I
they're
don't even know like if are the therapists informed about like racial trauma? Are the therapists informed about all this stuff? Or are they just like therapists that are going to ignore that and like tell black women that it's probably not like that, it's probably okay, like are you sure you're not just reacting out of like that? All of these things have to be considered because a lot of these things they do just to cover their ass, and they're not necessarily looking for therapists that are either black themselves so that they have that lived experience, or therapists that are informed in that, or like how are you vetting the therapist?
I think the therapists are there to try to figure out who's emotionally unstable, like who is going to
Mm.
have the biggest reactions. Like when Huda was like on Caller Daddy and revealed that she had like an abusive past, like she saw her mother being hit, like all of these things. I'm like, okay, this makes sense for some of her behavior on the show because it's like if anyone that's like sane like mental therapist would see someone with that sort of background and not let them on a reality television where they're being sleep deprived, where they're dating multiple people, with her background about her and her daughter, how her daughter was colic and how like that really stressed her out. Like they would not let someone with that sort of background be on this type of show where your emotions are high, where you're dating other people, where you're seeing people in your face choose another person other than you and take it so deeply and so personal. Like I genuinely don't think that show like Huda should have been on the show, especially
Mm.
with the way that like especially with even with like the other black girls on there. Like I just don't like how like the therapists like how they allowed for that, you know.
Hurt people, especially when they don't understand the damage that they're doing, and it's like it was very
It might
telling
not
that
be intentional, but the intent is still there. The action is still there. The output is still there.
yes, the fact that people were even calling her like Hurricane Huda, it's kind of like that's painting a picture for us, you know what I
Like when
mean?
you're in a
Like
hurricane, everyone is affected, not just you. So it's just like that set the
that's
tone.
exactly
I
what they were
generally think it set
saying.
the tone for like a lot of
Mhm.
what happened in there.
Yes, yes, and it's yeah, somebody mentioned that that Israeli guy, Elan or something like
Letting her
that.
kiss him, it's like, you know, he's an IOF soldier, and then like Huda would have not kissed that man if she had even looked at his Instagram. You can obviously like you could see like the posts about Israel. You could see those posts. Like Huda would not have kissed him if she'd known that before. Janae wouldn't have kissed Kenny or even been with him if she had known that background. And the fact that again, I'm bringing up they don't let them discuss politics. Like those things are important. If you want
And meanwhile, having black women on the show, like, come
exactly in
on.
this political climate, it's like especially it's like inherent to know who they voted
Multiple
for.
Republican men on the island.
It's not. Austin was with Shelly, and he was reposting contents about Haitian immigrants eating cats, and Shelly is Haitian.
And
And
who, yes, and it's like very telling and interesting that as soon as, like who did he just immediately run after when the not Casa, but when the other girls came to the villa, like it was a white girl.
Jaden, he
He was
immediately went
immediately
to
obsessed
Jaden,
with her.
and
And
then
mind you, so was Nick. I just want to point that out that Nick went after, Bella,
Adrena,
Sierra.
Abella, like
Hmm.
he went for these exotic women. And he's like, yeah, I
Hmm.
like Latinas and everything else. And I'm just like that's why for me, I'm hesitant to be like, yeah, pro Nick. Like I love Nick because it's like we don't know his true intentions, and I don't want to be like, oh, like Olandria, yeah, he's gonna play her like Kenny because that's unfair to her, and that's like putting a
Yeah.
unfair standard on her. But I'm just hesitant, and I'm not gonna say anything against him, but I'm not gonna say anything for him. That's why for me personally, I cannot, in good faith, support Nick without thinking about these backgrounds. Like when you ignore these small things, like with like the Chinese thing on TikTok, like people were so big on Sierra and Nick did that too. They wanted to be fair, they should have kicked them both out if that was like a
That's
big
what I'm
issue for them.
saying.
If that was
They
such a
were the
big
perfect
issue.
couple. You know what
Exactly.
I
But they
mean?
only kicked
Like,
out Sierra because Sierra fed into a certain narrative that people had about her, you know? Like I'm just hesitant to like fully support that. If someone can, if there's like evidence that's against that or whatnot, or like he's moved past that, that's okay. But like for now, I'm not gonna fully be into that, and I'm not
well, yeah,
gonna
because we just saw a man be able to play that for a year. A year. We're
exactly.
talking about we've seen them
These
together
small
for
things
5 minutes.
are really important. Like these small things lead up to things that are bigger. And if you don't address them early, like you're gonna be in a position where you are going to be blindsided, and you're gonna fall apart. Like even now, I don't even know how I don't even know how Janae is dealing with this because like they're all coming up on their first year anniversary. Like
I know.
Leah and Miguel closed it off. I think Serena and Cordell, they closed it off like in the show. And the fact that all of their anniversaries are near each other and she's gonna be the only person that's not gonna celebrate with her partner is like so sad.
It's fucking heartbreaking. Yeah. Yeah. So, man, I really wasn't even planning on being here this long, but thank you so much. Like you really completely just added to the conversation and like just I know that you have given everybody so much to think about and myself included. There was so many things that I would have, missed because I don't have that, the lived experience that you do. So I just want to say like thank you so so much. Do you make content? Like can people follow you?
I don't really make content. I just wanted to join
You
the live because I follow
should.
you. I follow you, so I was like, let me join this live and see what's happening. That's
I'm
that's the reason
so
why.
glad you did. Like man, I'm bummed to hear that. Like, it's not the easiest it's not the easiest like job or whatever, but if you ever get into it, just know that I will be a huge supporter because you really were breaking it down in here. Like that was just such a, easy conversation to have because like you just had so many good things to say and like so many good things to point out and just you're very clearly like an
Thank you.
educator, yes, and a
Sometimes
thinker.
you have to think. I had to think a lot before I spoke.
Yes, yes, and that's a lost art, so I just really appreciate you.
Yeah, it was nice having conversation. I would love to join another live with you again. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure I leave my requests open. Let me follow you back so that it will um so that you can request as like a friend or whatever because I'm gonna turn it off for the public probably next time. But
Okay.
now that I follow you, you can join in anytime. Thank you so much, y'all. I'm
No
gonna
problem.
hop off of here. I'm gonna go walk my dogs and then I will start uploading my lives. Um, I'm gonna probably put this one up today just because it's very like relevant to the discourse. So keep an eye out for that.
I will. Bye.
All right, bye y'all.